Good evening. So, it's been a long time since I've recorded an episode of the Jacob Wayne Show. Reason being, audience isn't that big, and I was able to, take a break and relax and not really piss anybody off in the process. Main reason I was taking a break is I was feeling an extreme sense of the fuck it's as far as recording podcasts go and other things I had going on in my life. It's just like I can't keep this up along with these other things. So how about I just focus on that stuff and then I'll get back to the podcast later. That being said, I only anticipated taking about 2 weeks off, and then I was really enjoying myself and just kept taking the break. So it's been over a month now, I think, but I'm going to be trying a new approach with this so as to not run into the same old burnout, and I can churn it out a little more regularly. I'm going to start compiling the episodes with whatever content I come up with on the days I'm able to record. So meaning, rather than taking out a lot of time and making sure I fit a full episode into one recording session, I'm just going to record at night before bed. I have taken a full melatonin and 2 edibles. So I'm definitely sleepy, not drunk, but just like, wah. And that will not always be the case. So you don't always got to have dreamy Jacob talking to you. But I mean, come on, who doesn't want dreamy Jacob talking to him? But I'll just slowly compile the episode with each one of these clips or whatever. And I kind of figured, since this is mostly a weekly update show, I can react to trailers more readily as they drop throughout the week, new music, and I can just kind of compile it all together into one episode, and you get it fresh on Mondays the next week. So this is officially the intro to a revamped The Jacob Wayne Show. You might not even really notice that big of a difference, but it's kind of a new thing for me. So forgive me if it's a tad bit clumsy, but we're going to see how it goes. And the first thing that occurred to me is that I could do kind of the Stanley Kubrick thing in The Shining, where it's just like, bong, and it just says Monday or whatever day I'm recording. So if it was today, I would go bong, and then that would be I guess Wednesday night, even though it's technically Thursday, but we'll just say Wednesday. So that's enough of the explanation. I'm back. I hope to keep giving you new content every week, and I hope you tell your friends about the show. And the bigger audience I get, the more I have to keep doing it, right? So if you dig the show, spread the good word, leave a good review, and I can keep this up, because ultimately I do like doing the podcast. Another element of this, I suppose, is that Kellen might not be as frequent as he's been in the past. The only reason being is he's a really busy man himself. That was kind of partially how I conceived this break I took. because he was busy on a little vacation trip, and just kind of figured he can drop in when he can drop in, and maybe it's not even for full episodes, maybe it's for certain segments. Same deal with my buddy Mike and various segments. And of course, if they got the time, we can just do a full episode and knock it all out, and we should be good. But yeah, in general, then I'm gonna try to keep the general structure working for this. So the next thing you would see now is getting into any news, food, or updates or anything like that. But all I can say is today I made a madras lentils. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's like an Indian dish. But it's not like an official one. It's like they kind of do the lentils like this in this particular city, which I think is Madras. And then they just packaged it into a tasty bite thing you can buy at Whole Foods. So I took those two packages, threw in some carrots, chickpeas, and onions, put that on top of some rice, and had a pretty tasty dinner. So that's what I cooked today. There's been a lot of other little fun cooking things, and I suppose I could tell you each day as I cook various things. And that'll kind of take over the little restaurant food, what you sipping on section of this podcast. But that being said, the melatonin's working really well. I'm sleepy and my belly is rumbling a little bit. I gotta maybe go take care of a little bit of business before I crash, if you know what I'm saying. Hopefully you don't know too well what I'm saying, because that would just be gross, right? All right. Well, it's good to be back, and I hope you like this new format. If you hate it or you love it, one way or the other, write me at thejacobwayneshow@gmail.com, and we can address it, and you'll just provide me content. All right. See ya tomorrow or today. Maybe time is a flat circle. I don't know. Friday, gotta get down on Friday. I got back from an evening of watching the Golden State Warriors beat the Boston Celtics in the NBA Finals, six games, 4-2. I swear I know this stuff, not as much as some folks, but you know, I follow it. I've been following it a bit more over the last 3 years. And I was kind of into this series. I like both teams, the Golden State Warriors and the Boston Celtics. They're not my favorite. If I had a favorite, it would have to be the non-existent Seattle Supersonics, which hopefully are coming back, and the Utah Jazz. Apparently tomorrow, which is June 18th, 2022, they're going to be updating their jerseys. So I guess I'll hop back in and give a reaction to that. But if you can't tell, I've had 3 juicy hazes from Music City Hot Chicken. And that's where I watched Game 6. And it was a hell of a good time. Lots of good people around me, good vibes, good food, good drinks. So it all worked out. But what I was going to look up, and what's going to be another facet of this podcast, is sometimes you might have to deal with a little bit of dead air while I look things up. I think part of the issue we run into on these solo episodes is I'm so worried about dead air that I'll just keep yammering in order to keep that air filled. And then suddenly I'm like, what was I talking about? But specifically what I'm looking up here is who has the most NBA championships. So which franchise has the most NBA championships? Hopefully it comes right up. If it doesn't, you're just going to have to wait. So looks like NBA all-time most championships won, which I'll get into the specifics of why I care. is 17 for the Los Angeles Lakers and 17 for the Boston Celtics. Now, with the Los Angeles Lakers, the last time they won was 2020, I do believe. I'm not going to go ahead and pull that up, but that was in the bubble. That was LeBron Lakers. And the Boston Celtics, the last time they won a championship, I'm not seeing it here. 2008. Write me if I'm wrong, if you give a shit, but I'm thinking it's about 2008. So it's been a minute. And I was kind of hoping that these Boston Celtics of the 2022s were gonna perhaps win this finals and just have one up on the Los Angeles Lakers, because I don't necessarily like the Los Angeles Lakers all that much. I've actually warmed up to them a little bit after that series winning time. Everybody was worried about the bad PR from that show, but honestly, it just made me like the whole concept of Jerry Buss in LA and them like running up against the Boston Celtics at the time, which were like far too dominant. It's uninteresting. But that being said, this is the night that the Golden State Warriors win what I believe is a fourth championship in 8 years. So they kind of got their dynasty going. It's a dynasty. It's right up there with Michael Jordan's Chicago Bulls, the Boston Celtics, and the Lakers. And it's just a matter of how long they can keep it going. Just by the nature of how today's basketball works, it's kind of near impossible to keep the run going, kind of like the Boston Celtics and the LA Lakers did it back in the day. But that being said, I remember looking up something interesting where in the West Coast, over like the last 20 years or something, an incredible amount of those years, it was either the Spurs, the Lakers, or the Warriors. I'm trying to see if I'm missing it. The Houston Rockets. So it was, so your NBA champions from the West either come from Texas or California. And then in the East, it's over the last 20 years, I guess it's mostly been Miami, Cleveland, Boston's got in there. Surprisingly, I always jumble these ones up, but like Detroit Pistons and 76ers, they get in there every now and again. But yeah, as you can see, I'm a little more into basketball than other sports, and maybe I'll bring in more sports stuff, but maybe the people that actually give a fuck enough to listen to this are not as into the sports. We'll see, I suppose, but I feel like I give a really good general overview and then I'm out. I'm out. So I'm actually out right now. As far as drinking goes, I'm gonna drink this Montucky, and that's my last drink for the night. And I suppose let's get into that. The drinking thing, right? I don't want to be Mr. Sober. At least I'm not ready for it yet. But that being said, drinking has hit me harder in my old age. It makes me sleep longer, feel the hangover more, get crankier if it's the wrong day to be drinking, kind of thing. And I suppose I'm just getting old. I think that's the core of what I'm getting at here is I'm getting old, and it starts to look a little ridiculous when you get sloppy drunk. Like, I'm a little sloppy right now, I get it. But like, you know the level of sloppy I'm talking about. But it's social lubricant. It gets me doing things I normally wouldn't, keeps me from being reclusive. And so my current strategy, and I'm going to update this over time, and if you feel like I'm running a fool's errand, you let me know and I'll adjust my behavior. But in the long run, my decision with alcohol right now is to do it outside the house for the most part. And now this is what I mean by that. If I'm going to have a night where I'm drinking, I got to go out to the bar, and that's the place where I do the majority of my drinking. I might come home, have a nightcap. This is the only drink I'm having tonight at home. Beyond that, let everybody in your domicile be aware that you've drank tonight, and I'm going to have a nightcap, and that's it. And then, it might be a week, might be 2 weeks without any drinking. And that's the place I think I need to get to. That being said, there's some NBA finals going on right now. There's the Stanley Cup finals. I want to kind of go out to the bars and rub shoulders a little bit with my fellow sports fans and yeah, enjoy that atmosphere, because I think that atmosphere is really good and it's bonding with your neighbors in a way. So, cheers. I feel like at least one segment of every podcast going forward, I should be a little tipsy. No, I'm already striking that, because that just means certain weeks I'm not, trying to drink. There's no reason to. Like, the reason to drink this week is the NBA finals, the Stanley Cup finals. And that's it. Like, there's no birthdays, there's nobody visiting. Oh, so that was the caveat. If somebody comes and visits and they're staying here for a week, you best believe we're doing drinking games to movies. We're doing Mario Kart. We're getting tipsy. We're going to have a good time, and that's going to be the time to let loose. And a lot of the experiment I'm doing right now is seeing how well I can seesaw between those types of weeks and weeks where it's like, nope, wake up at 8 in the morning, make sure you have only 2 cups of coffee and get your work done. It's that kind of thing. So, cheers. It is one of those nights. Congratulations to the Golden State Warriors. How many championships do they have now? That's a good question. So let's double check. The Lakers and the Celtics are tied for the most championships ever at 17. How many championships does Steph Curry have? He has 4. So that's the 4 of the 8 years, I believe. But that's not what I was looking at. Do the Golden State Warriors have? They have 7. So, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's Lakers, Celtics, Warriors, 76ers, Detroit Pistons, somewhere in there. Oh, I'm sorry. San Antonio Spurs. That's a fucking dynasty, in my opinion. Yeah. So congrats, Steph Curry. I'm sure he got the finals MVP. I didn't stick around at Music City Hot Chicken to find out. Curry won the 2022 finals MVP. Hands down. That was written today at 12:57 a.m., which is about 20 minutes ago. So, all right. Curry was incredible. I don't think I was old enough to understand what was going on with Jordan, but I do remember watching Jordan and just being afraid of him as a Utah Jazz fan, as a young man. And the things he was capable of, I just knew he was a threat and he was dangerous. And fuck that guy. God damn it. If we're going up against him, we're probably going to lose. And now when I go back and watch highlights, I'm just blown away by his ability. And I wish I could have been more aware for when he played the game. And I still think he's the greatest of all time. And I'm not about to suggest that Steph Curry is the greatest of all time. He might be top 5 though. Like if I'm thinking top 5 off the top of my head, I might have to go Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James. Oof. That's where it starts to get a little difficult. You get your Larry Birds and Magic Johnson, Steph Curry. Maybe Steph Curry's the ultimate sixth man if the starting 5 is Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan. I don't know. But it was just incredible watching that team work. Like they were just working Boston tonight. It was like there was so many times I just went, ooh. The plays they were pulling on Boston were it's like almost like doing them dirty. It was like, like it hurt my hip watching what Golden State was doing to Boston tonight. So congratulations. Once again, I got a little too long-winded on that, but hey, that's the evening, and that's why we're doing these new nightly segments to hopefully make a more enriched Jacob Wayne show for you. One other thing I was going to show you is this Shobani. Sorry, that's a ripoff of Dudesy, which is another great podcast. It's way better than mine that you should listen to. But Shobani Greek yogurt, key lime, that's like my go-to late snack right now. So I might not even dig into it. It's getting a little late, but oof, I just got to give it a shout out because that hurts my other hip, the other side. Like I watched Golden State working Boston. Yogurt. Oh, it's kind of where I'm at. So, what do we got here? This is technically, to me, Thursday night. The NBA finals are over. It's time for the summer season, and the Jazz are going to do a bunch of wonky shit. And that's the team I tend to follow. I try to get into the Nuggets because I live in Colorado, but I'm working on it. Joker's pretty cool. So tomorrow I will it will be Friday, which perfect music time. We'll get into music stuff. If there's any new album reviews or new music, anything like that, that's what we'll get into tomorrow. Then Saturday we'll do movies. Sunday is going to be wrap up. And then you'll have this episode that you're listening to right now on Monday, which will be June the 20th. So I think in general, that's going to sort of be my approach is Wednesdays, a little bit of testing the waters. Thursdays, getting into, maybe we'll do just current events, sports, politics, whatever, just mushing in there. Not have my phone go off. Oh, I got a buddy calling me, but I have to call him back. So Wednesday night's a little bit of hot prep. Thursday's current events, sports, politics. Friday, music. Saturday, movies. Sunday, wrap up. I think that's a pretty sexy podcast. Certainly hope so, especially if I keep chowing down my Chobani and my Montucky Cold Stack. So with that, I'll wrap it right up. And all right, I'm back. I am not recording late at night. I'm recording at 3:45 p.m. right before I go off to do a jam session with some Gamma Paw stuff. I think this will be kind of the last time I record before the episode. And yeah, I feel a little about this episode, but that's all right. I'm just getting back on top of it, getting to work, making things happen. So I am sipping on some coffee. And real quick, this is a very sports themed episode, which is not very common, but I guess I'll talk about it because it's what I have on my mind. The new Jazz jerseys. We'll put it right over here over this bright light right here. Take a look at them. They're just about as bright, at least the yellow jerseys are just about as bright as this right here. Like, but in all actuality, I don't hate the design. Maybe it's not the best in terms of executing minimalism or simplicity. Somebody even defined it as brutalism, which I guess is a form of minimalism where it's showing you all the basic spare parts in a minimal way. And it was popular in the 1950s in the UK with architecture and things like that. Somebody else said that this was like 5-7 years too late, which I guess that's kind of in reference to neon colors that were popping up and stuff like the Seattle Seahawks and this and that. If you haven't picked up on it, I am very much into design and aesthetics when it comes to sports, and I think that's the artist in me coming out. And yeah, so I think it's in a weird way, like that's really a part of sports that I identify with, is just the presentation and the imagery. So when we're talking about these jerseys, I actually kind of like the yellow and the black, and I think they should have just snipped out white and just gone straight up yellow black, and that's it. Because a bit of what's going on here with the Utah Jazz is they're trying to narrow down their logo colors or team colors in general to like be identifiable. When you think about the Chicago Bulls, you think, oh, black and red with like little bits of white, or the Lakers, yellow, purple. But now we're running into an imitation problem, I think, because now we got the yellow and the purple, but no green, none of the other factors of the original Utah Jazz stuff. It's just now that they're scared about what the reaction is to this yellow black thing, which I think mainly is a bunch of fucking boomers being like, it's the worst, ugliest jerseys I've ever seen. Bring back the purple gaudy mountains from the 90s because that's the best. Like, doesn't make sense to me, but that's essentially what they're doing. They're bringing back the old purple uniform from when the Utah Jazz made the finals. And because they're scared of how people reacted to the black and yellow. And I think they just got to make the statement and be like, nope, black and yellow, fucking deal with it. Over the years, maybe they can start to work in like a minimalist streak of yellow that's like a mountain outline, bring back some of the old elements of the older jerseys, but stick with the black and yellow. And as far as the yellow goes, maybe just stick with the old kind of darker toned yellow from the old Jazz jerseys, and then that's how you can connect to that. But yeah, black and yellow, Beehive State, own it. And maybe that's part of this. I'm online looking at reactions, and they're all, that's the problem with this, is they don't have the original purple and we don't have an identity. But I guess that's what you get these days with the woke NBA trying to like, but Colin Kaepernick. It's just a bunch of stupid old racist white dudes in Utah having a problem with change. So fuck them. Those purple jerseys are fucking ugly. And I used to love them as a child. I used to draw that copper circle and the jazz with that shitty old Western font. And I thought it was pretty cool. It was fun to draw and it helps with the precision line work a little bit. But yeah, fuck that. I like it straightforward. But then again, I like the San Diego Padres with the brown and yellow lately. The Browns, Brooklyn Nets, with some people say this is them trying to rip that off. But I looked up the color palettes of NBA teams, and I maybe will put that up right here. We'll see if I can find it. But I believe the Utah Jazz are the only team that would have the yellow black combination. I don't know. Just not the smoothest rollout. And it makes me dislike Utah Jazz fans even more. And they're kind of just like a placeholder team for me to follow anyways, because I'm just waiting for the Seattle Supersonics to come back. And then they can have highlighter yellow with green and be all minimal, I hope, rather than those terrible fucking 90s Supersonics jerseys. All right, I will move on from this because I feel like most people that listen to my podcast are like, what the fuck with all this sports talk? But it's been that week. So we're just going to wrap things up and we'll do music and movie news real quick and just wrap the whole thing up. New releases. Let's take a look-see here. I should have been a little more prepared and brought this up, but oh well. Let's see here. I think there was a new Alanis Morissette album. It's like The Storm Before the Calm or something like that. And that was something I intended to listen to, but I have not listened to yet. I listened to the very first track, but it seemed like a slow build, like prepping you for the whole thing. So it didn't really say a whole ton about what the album was really going to be sounding like. Wow. Yeah, it's not popping up. I don't know why Spotify does that sometimes. Sometimes it shows you everything new that you might give a shit about, and sometimes it just hides it. So while I'm taking a look-see, let me see if I can scrape my brain and think of anything. Well, I'll tell you one new album I really got into is the Smiles new album. That's Tom York and Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead's new project. I've mentioned them before. Their full album, A Light for Attracting Attention, is out now, and it's really great. I love it. So go give that a listen. New releases for you. Here we go. Let's see if there's anything worth mentioning here. Black Midi just released some tracks and I've been neglecting them, so I need to get in there and give that the old listen. There's been some new singles released from Santa Gold, one of my favorite kind of, what do you call it? I heard it defined as like pop sleaze from like the 2010s. I don't know if that's like a scene or a movement or anything like that, but Santa Gold just has this really creative spin on pop music. But yeah, two new singles from her, one called Ain't Ready and the other one called High Priestess. I heard High Priestess. It's pretty tasty. Waiting to hear more though to see if I'm getting real enthusiastic or not. Let's just stick with that for this week and then I'll do better. New album from Hercules and Love Affair called Disassociation. Haven't even heard it yet. I tend to like them though. One quick thing on the music front I will point out is I've noticed really shitty, mediocre rappers uploading singles and albums under the same name as other artists. So, for example, there's one artist I follow called Zoo, and that's spelled ZU. They're a very avant-garde, cool, interesting band. Actually defined as an Italian avant-garde jazz and rock quartet from Rome. Zoo feature a punk-informed, improvisational, free jazz style that defies easy categorization. In addition to a plethora of their own albums and singles, they've collaborated with a bunch of artists. So I'm sitting here looking at their page. They have 4,725 monthly listeners. Not a ton, but nothing to sneeze at. I'm looking at their albums, like, yep, I've heard that. Oh, Carboniferous was a really interesting one from 2009. Oh, latest release. Great. It's been a while. 2009, was that the last time? I don't know. But I'm looking this up and it's called Backstreet Baby. And then there's a rapper on the front. First track is called Establishment Flow, EST Flow. Something tells me this isn't the avant-garde jazz band from Rome. It happened to Coal Chamber also. And I just wish there was a way to report it. It's not even that well, if the artist is truly trying to take advantage of the name and like sneak their album in there, then fuck them. But perhaps they came up with the artist name Zoo and didn't even think to look that there's another band called Zoo, and they uploaded it. Then if that's the case, you should have looked it up, but whatever, shit happens. But I just wish there was a way to contact Spotify and be like, separate this out, because it's not the biggest deal, but you kind of bum me out when I'm like, ooh, new Zoo release, and oh no, incredibly mediocre mumble rap. All right. Okay. So, music announcements. I know our good friend of the podcast, Kellen Gibbons, is been super busy. He's been traveling around, seeing his lady, doing a lot of busy music stuff, getting Summerfest together in Logan, Utah. Gamma Pa, my band with Brandon Shockey. We've just got done playing a show at a bowling alley, and we used our program beats instead of a live drummer, and that was really something. I think it went over really well. And both Shockey and I want a live drummer, but I tell you, it's something nice about just having it be synced up. It's in time and rock it. It's kind of like heavy Depeche Mode or something like that. And maybe I'm more into that than Shockey is, but till we find an amazing drummer, I'm like, I don't mind it. I don't mind it. We have a couple shows coming up, but not confirmed, but that'll be happening in July and August if everything shakes out. Yeah. So Gamma Pa stuff coming on in the future. Actually, in just about 10 or so minutes, we'll be starting to get ready to go jam with the new drummer, or we'll see if he will continue to be a new drummer or it's just a one-off little jam session. Alrighty, with music and movie news, I feel like every movie I watched has been too far out. It was a long time ago, meaning like a month ago, but it's not fresh, so I won't bother going back. Let's live in the now. Let's not look back. New shows I've been watching. I'm excited for Westworld to come back on June 26th, HBO. I've been watching Russian Doll and the German series on Netflix, Dark, which is like a psychological terror thriller kind of thing. Both of those have been really enjoyable. Wrapped up Barry, one of my favorite shows right now. Incredibly Coen Brothers-esque, surreal, awesome, like shocking, hilarious show. It's like so many cool little things going on in it. So I highly recommend watching Barry. Russian Doll is very charming. Dark, I haven't gotten deep enough to have a strong opinion. I gave the fuck up on Raised by Wolves, and that's good because that got canceled. So I've kind of decided that unless the show really grabs me right at the beginning and it's just something I just love, and like Barry, like he can get really experimental and fuck with the story, and I'm so into Bill Hader's approach that yeah, do what you want. I'll keep checking it out until I don't enjoy it, but I just can't imagine not enjoying it on some level. Whereas the stuff like Game of Thrones, big epic things that have like mystery box elements and this and that, like I don't know if I'm going to start watching that show, those types of shows until they're done. I have a couple that I'm like, I'm too deep, so I need to stick with them, like Westworld. Uh, I know there's other ones, but I just can't think of them at the moment. I feel like I'm gonna do that with the Lord of the Rings one that's coming out on Amazon. Oh, okay. The other one I really enjoy, but I guess it did grab me really initially was The Boys. But maybe the reason I've been feeling that way is I've been watching the Disney Plus shows. I was bored out of my mind watching Moon Knight, which kind of set me into this mode of maybe I don't need to watch every Marvel thing that comes out. I prided myself in trying to keep up on it, even if it is a little bit of story of the week sometimes. But it's just like I feel like nothing that happened in Moon Knight is super relevant. I'm sure that they'll write it into bigger movies and be like, "See, you remember that from Moon Knight? Now it's paying off." But I'm like, who fucking cares? The new Miss Marvel, I gave the first episode a shot, and I was like, "This is definitely not for me." It looks well made. I'm not saying it's a bad show. It's just that it seems like it's for preteen girls. I mean, it's for everybody. It's for the family, but mostly for preteen girls, I think. Sorry. The new Obi-Wan show, and I'm way more of a Star Wars geek than Marvel, and even that having some really cool moments and elements to it, I'm just kind of like, for just as much, it's like it looks cheaply made, and like the action, like when Leia's running away from her potential kidnappers, and spoiler, uh just some of the action is just so slow and looks cheaply done. It reminds me of the little neon speeder chase scene in Book of Boba Fett that also looked horrible. And that's what sucks. Live action Star Wars stuff, I'm always gonna eventually watch. Like, I'm trying to talk myself into watching Clone Wars or Rebels, but I am not a cartoon guy. I don't know why. I used to be way more into them. I don't know what happened. I think it was pointed out to me once that as a writer, when you do a cartoon, while it takes a lot of effort from the artists and designers, and it still takes a lot of effort from the writers too, but there's something about animation where you can kind of do whatever you want. So if you want to just transport a character through another universe and just there's an explosion and this and that, yeah, you got to draw it out and that takes effort, but it's just kind of, I don't know. I like to see people act, and I like to see practical effects. And I feel like these days they've gotten a lot better about mixing practical effects with CGI, and it's not just a giant CGI fest. And that is something I can appreciate about the new live action Star Wars is even if it looks cheaply made, it seems more on the level with the original trilogy and character based. Like some of those prequel trilogy stuff. Like, I liked the overall story and arc and everything, but the action was just a big old giant CGI mess and waste of time to me. And yeah, a lot of the sequel trilogy for Star Wars too just got overblown into just a giant, stupid CGI battle. Emperor Palpatine's all overpowered. And I mean, I guess he's like kind of technically supposed to be that. He is just almost like the dark side personified. But, you know, I like stakes and human acting and practicality and the more intimate scenes. There was one scene in The Mandalorian where Ahsoka went up against this lady and it was just in a garden and it's all quiet. That was really fucking cool. The one part in Obi-Wan, spoiler, where Vader confronts Obi-Wan again, and then he like catches him, and then he like puts some of this like space coal or something on the ground and ignites it with his saber, and then he puts Obi-Wan in it to burn him. That stuff's pretty fucking sweet. I'm into it. Anyway, so I guess it's been a lot of TV shows lately, not as many movies, but hoping to get back in on keeping up with the films because I like a movie, start and finish. Yeah. So anyway, feel free to write and tell me if you like this new format of the Jacob Wayne Show. Is it too jarring to go from day to day? There are going to be a lot more solo episodes, so get used to that. I'll have Kellen on when I can get him, and the occasional other guest here and there, like Mike. Had a couple other people I've been talking to about potentially coming on to talk about some things. But I'm also thinking, when I have people on, even Kellen, like not really hitting the segments as hard, because sometimes I feel like I'm going over like informational stuff and just basically having Kellen sit there and listen to me rather than participate, which if you're a listener, cool. If you want to be a guest on a show, need a little bit more. So when I have him on, I think just more casual, free-flowing conversation. And we'll see how that goes, edited together with just some basic film, movie update stuff. But and I think for now I'm gonna stop doing the This Day in History. If I had more time to prep and actually like research some of those things, I think it would be a little more engaging. But seeing as how I don't have a lot of time, so that's that. The Jacob Wayne Show is back. And a kind of a mediocre return episode, but we'll get better and better. All right. So you have a good one, and we'll see you next week. Ta-ta! Thank you for listening to the Jacob Wayne Show. If you would like to contact us, please write us at fakoshka@gmail.com. That is FAKOSHKA@gmail.com. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. Simply search The Jacob Wayne Show and it should pop right up. Make sure you like and subscribe and leave a review and share this podcast with your friends. Please write us. It helps add content to the show and makes the show even better for you, the listener. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to the
show.